It's the third day of this year's Durban FilmMart taking place in eThekwini in KwaZulu-Natal. We continue our focus on animation and its role in the telling of fresh stories from Africa. Nqobile Madlala is in Durban watching developments there. Nqobile, at day 3 of this conference, what's been happening?
Well, we've just been to the session just recently, and I mean, we've heard about animation and the importance of it to tell these stories. I think what came out of that session is that we found out that they say that it's very expensive, of course, to start off animation, but there are various ways that people can explore. We are going to talk to that in a minute, but before we start, I want to actually begin here. You from an international field, right? And so you know best, and you have seen people pitching their ideas. And I want to ask from you, from someone who's coming from Brazil, tell us what have you seen from the people that are pitching ideas?
Yeah, I saw a lot of creativity, the will to try to tell original stories, things that relate to the people here. I also saw the same movement in Brazil with the black community. We share a lot of history. And I saw that in common and felt like really inspired by that. Yeah.
And I mean, I know that in Brazil you already have seen funding basically boosting the animation industry. Do you think that perhaps we need more to boost our animation industry?
Yeah, I felt like we are some steps ahead in the terms of the market of animation, especially in series. And I saw clearly that in Brazil that happened when there was investment, public investment, like 10 years ago, and it make a market exist. You know, there was like 3 series in the TV in Brazil in 2010, and nowadays there are like 50 going on. A lot of animators employed, you know, and that really boosted the market and are starting to flourish in style also. A lot of things are happening because of this kind of investment.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. I want to bring you in, Claire, and I want you to come just a little closer. Thank you very much. We're hearing from someone who's already from an international field. They're saying that we need a boost in terms of making sure that we can do all these styles and we can bring these stories. Tell me about, as a person who's been in animation, what is it that we need in South Africa to get to that stage where our animation can perhaps be in a bigger field in the international world?
I do think that we are further ahead than what you're saying. Just going by the last 3 years, we've got many shows already now. We've got many shows already on Disney and Netflix and Amazon, but most of it seems to be in Cape Town and Johannesburg. So in terms of developing our industry in KZN, because I can speak to that, being one of the only animation studios in Durban, it has been quite a struggle in terms of funding, but understanding the landscape, that was something that it took quite a while to do. So understanding the business of animation, not how to make animation, because most of us inherently know that, but understanding if your projects are worthy, if they're going to land to an international audience. So you create local to go global. And exactly what he's saying, I mean, stories are stories. We all relate to characters. We all relate to characters' journeys. And the styles of animation, that is something that will be determined by your budget. So if it's going to be 2D because you don't have that much of your funding, or understanding how to produce it and get different people involved and different partners.
And I mean, we are obviously in this space where you are able to detail that, how to ensure that you get funding and to understand the business. What would you say are the key elements to ensuring that you can secure the funding, that you can go forward with the idea that you have?
Perseverance. My gosh. As a filmmaker, you have to be patient and persevere. That is a very something that nobody tells you. Number one is how long it's going to take. And it really is how long is a piece of string. And if you feel you've got a story that needs to be told and you want to do it, Yeah, you just have to keep going on with it. But you have to also learn to understand how funding windows work. Who are the broadcasters compared to the distributors? So that's something we didn't understand in the beginning, that there's sales agents and distributors. The animation market, I completely underestimated how massive the market is, which means the competition is just as strong. So one of the great things that's happening now, and I'm calling it the Black Panther effect, because really now African animation from Africa, before we never even had, like no one would even look at it. And now people are searching for those stories, and when we have our markets or we have our festivals like we are here, I'm noticing that there's a lot more bigger players, but they expect you to understand the whole business model already. So I would say if you've got something that you want to get made and you want to see it on the different TV channels, you have to start educating yourself. I mean, YouTube, great resource. You have to start educating yourself on how the business model works and know that it's going to take more than 2 years.
And I mean, I understand that speaks to research then, and then I'd imagine that's also researching the kind of characters that you are putting out there. And we were hearing the different kinds of animation that you have, 2D, 3D, and all sort of things. So all that collectively being part of research. So then my question to you is that there's a young person out there that's listening to you right now. Where does that person start? Besides being patient, besides researching, where do they go? Which websites do they go? Who do they look for so that they know where to go?
I'd say in South Africa, you can start with our Animation Bodies website, which is Animation SA. But in terms of studying, I do understand that animation schools are expensive and almost elite. So, and animation should be democratized. I really believe that. But I would say if they want to start, the number one thing to do is many studios have open days. They do. And to start understanding who the studios are, so that's a simple web search, which is what I did. Yeah, I went to go look on the Animation SA website. I found the studios that were close to me, but that was only in Johannesburg and Cape Town. And then just really going to the websites, calling them up, but finding out who the animators are on LinkedIn who work there and contacting those people. I got much more, but exactly, it's research, and it also shows how diverse you are in your thinking. So if you want to get involved, drawing is not enough. You can be a computer person, an editor. There's all these different fields in animation. It doesn't just have to be drawing. There's many jobs, and I was surprised to learn that. And that's where I started, was as an editor.
And in terms of projects, where can they get funding for their projects?
All right, for that you have to look at, if you are here in the KZN or KwaZulu-Natal province, we have provincial funding from the KZN Film Commission, but there's very specific guidelines, and they're very clear about what they need from you. But if you are, they have different tiers. So if you've never made one before, they actually have funding for you in tier 3, but it also means you're going to have to go through a little bit of a training program. They're not just going to give you the money. They want to make sure it's well spent, but they must believe in your idea. So the first thing you have to learn is how to pitch. Talk to anybody you can about your story and feel how authentic it is. And does it speak to the funding people you're funding? Because the KZN Film Commission have a different mandate to what the National Film and Video Foundation does. That's the second lot, and they fund animation at least 4 times a year. So if you don't get it right, they will give you notes and they'll explain to you, your story needs, maybe, they didn't understand what the character's motivation was. You have to have a storytelling, you must be able to tell a story and engage people with your story. That is what will get you to the funding. You can find the animators to work with you, but you must believe your story. You must, and believe in your project.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. That is, of course, one of the people that have made it in that animation field. And she's just saying that for those that are looking into ensuring that they are getting into the field, she says that research is very important. Perseverance also. It's at least going to take you over 2 years just to get your animation out there. But she's saying that there is movement, and I suppose to the right direction from a Brazil director and animator. He's even saying that the creativity is there. We do though need a lot more money to be put into the industry so that more can be done.
Nqobile Madlala, thank you for that update.